So in this video, we are going to talk about currency. So to talk about currency, we need to think about the root word of currency, which is current. Current events mean events that are happening right now. So currency is all about stuff that is up to date. And to figure out if something that you're researching is up to date or not, you have to ask yourself some of these questions off to the right over here. So the first example is, does currency matter for this topic? So let's give a silly example and then a real example. So if we were doing research on a particular glacier, and the glacier we look up on Google and it was there 3 years ago, currency matters because things could have changed with that glacier from 3 years ago to today. Like if we are doing research and we're writing a research paper on a particular glacier, that glacier could have already melted. So if we say the glacier is so big and we didn't consider the currency of the article, then that kind of matters if the glacier is gone. We were to go onto Google and we were to look up, for example, coronavirus, and we wanted to do research on the coronavirus. This is a topic that currency matters for because every day things are changing. So maybe you want to know what happened with coronavirus yesterday. So maybe you'd say coronavirus, New York City, updates, and we'd take a look and we'd say 1 hour ago, 8 minutes ago, 21 minutes ago. We would look for when it was last updated to see how current that information is, because we don't want to be reporting on old information, because stuff like this changes from minute to minute, day to day. An example of something we could do research for that currency may not matter is if we looked up what was first president of the United States, or who was. But this information is not going to change. So if there's an article written about it yesterday or an article written about it 50 years ago, that's not necessarily going to matter, and you can kind of ignore currency for that because that is a fact and that is not changing. Here's another example. To talk about the Great Depression, and we are doing research on how do we overcome the Great Depression, because right now it seems like we're heading into this economic recession because of the coronavirus. We would look and we'd think, well, the Great Depression happened a long time ago, so maybe it doesn't matter when an article was posted, whether it was last year, the year before it, but it's also possible that new information comes the more people study it. So one way that you can sort information by when it was created was we can take the topic and we can go to something called Google Advanced Search. And this is a tool that allows you to sort Google information a lot of different ways. And in Google Advanced Search, I'm just going to put the same question here, but by last update, I only want things that are updated within the past year on how do we overcome it. So like maybe I only want really current information. And then what you should notice is that everything that is posted over here only has happened recently. Or maybe if I want really, really, really current information, I don't say past year, but I say past month, because in the past month, we've been studying it a lot more because of the coronavirus. So maybe I only want really, really current research on this. So you can kind of sort how recent you want your currency of that information to be using Google Advanced Search. Now, I'm not saying that necessarily this article over here is better than one written 20 years ago or 10 years ago. In fact, this one was written in 2007, but I'm guessing it was updated recently. If we can find an update. If I scroll through this, I don't trust this article. The currency said it was updated recently, but it wasn't, so I'm not going to use this. So I'm going to look for another article over here. But you can see how, kind of looking at that information, by the way, maybe that was a great article. You'd have to go through and you'd have to ask yourself more questions, such as, does the source use recent information? Okay, well, let's maybe take a look back at that to see if it does use recent information. So you then have to go through and look, well, what information is he claiming over here? Some sort of link over here to what caused the Great Depression. Well, okay, this link was happening in 2018, it works. So you can kind of continue to look through the different questions. Are the referencing or links current? What was the date of publication? Like, you've got to look at this stuff once you decide that currency matters for the topic. If currency doesn't matter, you can kind of move on and not think so deeply about these questions because it's not something that matters for your research. Looking at this post, even though it said it was updated recently, I looked down at the comments and I noticed that the comments over here, there's comments 8 months old, even 3 years old. So that tells me the reason this popped up on Google is like something on this website, the way that it's created. Like, look at all these articles that are like fake linked within this one. Like, something was updated within them. So this story is old. Currency may or may not matter, but that's for you to go through and decide after reading more and reading what the content says. And the last thing for you guys to think about in terms of currency is that this little chart over here from green to yellow I made saying that the first question is like more important than the others usually. So, if currency doesn't matter, you don't need to go look into the date of publication. So try and look through the questions from top down to figure out which ones to look at first. Now, I'm not saying you have to always ask all of these questions, but usually you kind of have to use your best judgment looking at websites, starting with the first question. And it's not like when I look at a website, I think, oh, let me check the currency of it. But I do consider certain things before I trust the information. So that's what you need to know about currency. Go summarize what you know.